chakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, no mano, na vidmo, na vijanimo, yataitadanushishya. The eyes do not go there, the speech cannot go there, and that Brahman, which he will mention now, that Brahman, we do not know how to instruct about it. So that was mentioned there. And then it was clarified that Brahman is different from the known and beyond the unknown. So neither that Brahman can be said that I will know it or I don't know it, because it's beyond both in terms of objective knowing. Anya deva tadvidita tato avidita tadi. But then there is a way we have heard from the ancient teachers, meaning this wisdom or this pointer to that realization has been given by rishis, the lineage of rishis. And we have heard about this, meaning this has been presented to us until our understanding opens up to that, or our realization of that comes. Tad, he said, na tad vyacha chakshire. That supreme thing they told, explained to us, they pointed it out to us. That was mentioned. So we had quite a discussion on this, and some of you have also put different comments in our group. I'm glad that some of you are really making that effort to contemplate on it, because this is also a means of contemplation. See, any kind of contemplation, direct or indirect, leading to that supreme realization, all that is equally a means of coming to that. As he mentioned, it cannot be taught like in a textbook, or it cannot be shown through any of our perception or even our intellectual thing. It is only pointed out for us to inquire. And some of you have mentioned that, I have to inquire. The Rishis are pointing it out, the Upanishad is pointing it out, but I have to inquire. This is like where, we cannot expect somebody to kind of do that miracle, meaning they touch us and we get it. No, it is not that kind of experience. So the first one, what is my understanding of the known and unknown? So here, the question was that tat viditat aviditat, that known and unknown. So what is that? What do I understand of that known and unknown? So unknown, as we realize, as we saw, Shankaracharya mentions, right? Na kaschit, kasyachit, kvachit. Even somewhere, somebody, or even a little bit of that. Anything that comes that it could possibly be known by somebody, somewhere, or sometime, that comes under the whole gamut of things that are known or can be known. So they all come under that. Then there are things that are unknown, things that we don't know about it, but that idea is there, that something like that is there, or an idea or a kind of a notion that, okay, one day I can know it. So if it comes under that kind of, some point it will be revealed, some point intellectually I'll be figured out. Then I can go about talking about it, teaching about it, experiencing it. Then no, that is not the case. So this is why, any teacher from this perspective, any teacher who says they know this ultimate reality, they don't know it. And somebody says, I don't know it. That is also not true. Why it is not true? Because this Atma Tattva is the closest thing to us. It is that basis on which every experience of life happens. Yet it is not something that like we talked about it, the senses can only go forward, outward. It cannot go backward into the mind. So similarly, the mind can only go forward into the senses and all that, or at least try to analyze the mind itself. But the mind cannot go back to realize that, know that Atma Tattva. So that is why it comes under this spectrum. And then many of you have mentioned this. Does unknown refer to things beyond human senses? When we are talking about unknown, is it just something like, they say humans cannot hear certain frequency of sounds, And or sometimes we say some feelings, some very deep feelings. I do not experience that. I do not I'm not able to express that. So all those come under the on those things, and that is not the case. Or nor some subject, like even when we are studying here, something is very complex, right? Intellectually we can't grasp or figure it out. So that all that unknown is also not that we are trying to realize here. So we say, for the sake of limitation of that language, I'm trying to know it. I'm trying, when we say jignasu, mumukshu and all, right? We are trying to seek that truth. We are trying to know that truth. But when we progress, we understand it is not that kind of a literal knowing. So this point is where we discussed on this. Now the other questions here. How are both the known and unknown still objects of the mind, appearing with a sense of outside, outside in the code, meaning from my mind perspective, I'm always having thoughts. The thoughts are coming and going. So these consistent thoughts of that mind, they are like a flow of river. So these thoughts, what is it? They are taking us outward. So that outward thing is not where it is. This is one point. So both this thing that we know, or when I say I don't know, it is projected somewhere by the mind outward. So this is what is that subject object knowing. As long as there is an subject, it will try to go and look for an object. That is when that subject will get somewhat endorsed. So the subject and object relationship, the observer and observed, we can also use that kind of language. So here, when as long as there is an observer who is trying to observe something, meaning in a tangible way, that falls under this gamut of that known and unknown. So, that was the point, and now comes the point we have to do mananam about. Again, the I'm just giving just like from our what we have studied. These are your questions. You have to ask yourself, and from the shastras what we studied, I'm trying to just add on there. So now the other point was given to us, that how can the pursuit of knowing and seeking knowledge truly unfold? So we are studying the Upanishad, we are talking about all that. So what is it? What is the jignasa? What is that inquiry we are really going about? And how do we go about this? So this question, of course, each one of us have to look at it. But this is where it is mentioned that the teachings of the Upanishad and the pointers of that guru or the Shastra Acharyas, they are helping us to look at it by what process? Mainly through the Neti Neti process. Meaning, when you say something is it, idam vastu, when it becomes an idam vastu, then what happens? It is an object that has to be known. So here what they say is every idam vastu is not you, is not the reality. So that is one of the major prakriyas. But then there are also other prakriyas where we are talked about gunas. We will discuss some of that today. Like when we say Atma or Paramatma is Sat-Chit-Ananda, or it is about, it is that Jnata, Sakshi, all this we are saying, right? So there also that pointer is mentioned in a way that it nullifies every kind of a attribute or an object. So that again goes to that the pursuit of knowing. The pursuit of knowing, as some of you mentioned, somebody had mentioned. I only know of that who am I inquiry, like how to go about with this. So all inquiries from the Upanishads are as equivalent as who am I inquiries. And so that is why these teachings here are the question is important. Questioning is important here. It is not so much like I have all the answers. Sometimes, when we get too caught up with the content of Vedanta, we are like that. Okay, this Vedanta, this shloka says that shloka says that. So that is good for Chintanam. But that which we are even quoting about, it's an inquiry we are really into. So the real pursuit of the wisdom, the reality, is based on inquiry. So that is the fundamental thing. And to help trigger that inquiry is where we have Shravanam and also the Nididhyasanam. So all these are Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. This is the thing. The Shravana is based on the higher reality. The Shravana is not based on our worldly reality, right? So this kind of Shravana, where only the Vedas talk about. See, if the Vedas were going to explain to us some worldly science, why the sun comes up or the gravitation force, then that Veda is not unique. So the importance of the Vedas is it is giving us a unique pointer, a unique path to realization, to wisdom. And and this thing is not worldly available. So when we inquire based on the teachings of Upanishads, we are already in this path of knowing. That pursuit of knowledge has already happened. Now, what is that pursuit of knowledge? So the when we are pursuing this, we are pursuing something which we don't know about. So it initially it goes into that category of unknown. So when we start off, we are first told it is not this, it is not this, it is something else, it is something else. Anya deva tadviditat. No, it is something else. So that is the real sustenance of our sadhana in this approach. So the intellect has to persist in the inquiry of something which seemingly is categorized as unknown. But how do we go about with this? If you objectify that, if we say that, one day I have to go see this Himalayan mountains, or one day I have to have darshan of Bhagwan. So again, what has happened is that is not become an inquiry, that is become a kind of an approach into, through the bhakti, dhyana, and all that. We are making the mind fixed in that one direction. Here, the mind is fixed in a way that it doesn't have a tangible object to cling to. So what happens in this? There is two things that happens. All our seeking will come to an end because you realize it is not known and it is not unknown. So that normal worldly kind of seeking, the dharma, artha, kama, purushartha, those kind of seekings will come to an end, when we persist in that. Yet we cannot abandon the inquiry. So this is the delicate balance of the sadhana here. We have to persist in that inquiry, but yet that inquiry is not towards a fixed object. It is not towards a some quantified object. So how do we do this? The mind is not used to that doing that. So here that is why the Upanishad is a means to cling to something which is not something your mind will get attached to. So sometimes people say this, everywhere it is said we shouldn't become attached, we shouldn't become attached to things, because the reality of this life is it is impermanent. So why should I be attached to my spouse or my children, my parents? Because ultimately, everything has to go, right? But here, what we are getting attached to is a very subtle pointer. That pointer, when you find it, will automatically break all other attachments. Attachment with the body, attachment with our society, attachment with all these things, everything, because that Atma is free from all such attachments. So, the next question, how can the highest reality be both immediately accessible and beyond the categories of known and unknown. So yeah, maybe this question, can somebody tell me how is the highest reality? We have discussed it is beyond the categories of known and unknown. But at the same time, how is it immediately accessible? I didn't see any answers for that. Anybody? Why is this immediately accessible, or where is it immediately accessible?
Through inquiry or through the willingness to seek the answers. So it kind of
yeah, that's a good point. But for it to be accessible, accessible meaning it is not something inaccessible, because when we are saying it is not known and unknown, it is not, we are not saying it is not immediately available or accessible. We are saying it is accessible.
Once we become drishta in consciousness, once we become drishta, it becomes accessible like.
That is, but that is not the right, that is not what we are looking at. Why is this reality or this thing immediate? How is it immediately accessible, or why is it immediately accessible?
Can we say, since this is our true nature, it's like always there only, it's just that because we ignore it, we don't know it.
Yeah, what is anybody else that what he's saying? Can somebody else phrase it too?
It is it is already there, but we don't know how to, or our senses can't access it. Through our senses, we cannot access it. But the reality is, it is always there. It is there, or we are that.
It's all pervading.
It's part of us.
It's okay. Part of us is let's close. Yeah.
Maybe
it is our.
Who is that?
Yeah, saying it is our own being. It is our own being in which both the perception of known and unknown appear. So that is why it is more intimate than the known and unknown, because it is our own very being. Both of them appear.
Correct. So that is why, we are not going on this wild chase. We are not trying to look for some wild, like there are movies, where hunting for some treasure somewhere they go, and that is not necessary, because that ultimate treasure or that reality, as somebody mentioned, it is our nature, our own true real nature. So it is us, it is who I am at the most fundamental level. Who I am, and who everything is. At the true reality is this. It is not like even a god, that some god who pervades everything. That god is everywhere. So it is not even like that. That divine reality has to be known. It has to be experienced. So it is that very essence of our being. So I mentioned that in every experience is the experience. See, like this. When you are seeing this. See, one is it is our true nature. The other is when you see something. What is it that you're seeing? You are seeing that pen here. But a very simple thing is, in this seeing, that experience of seeing, the first thing you are experiencing is that consciousness. Okay. So that it is that consciousness based on which you are seeing this. So everything that is seen, heard, smelled, the essence of that, without that color and form and all that, that essence of that knowing is this consciousness, is this Paramatma. So in this perspective, it is not necessary that I see a good thing, then I see consciousness. So if I go to a temple and see Bhagavan, that is, I saw that. No, here, every experience is based on this. So it is the most direct and immediately accessible truth of our own self. So it is as simple as this. I mentioned this also. It is like as simple as seeing something and realizing, oh, this is consciousness. Meaning, if you take off all the forms, if you take off all that norms, in that seeing, that is what I told you, right? That Buddha's comment also. In the seeing, there is pure seeing. In the hearing, there is that pure hearing. So every experience is this experience of ourself, of that consciousness, of the beingness. If you don't have that fundamental knowing, seeing experience, you will not see anything. There is nothing object to see at all without this. So that way, it's the most accessible, most closest, and the most simplest to recognize. Just with the wisdom has to be there, that this is the reality, this is the thing. Then everything is a useful thing for the sadhaka. Okay, now the last two questions. It was mentioned, if this reality is not known even to sages, what is the value of studying the Upanishads and non-dual teachings? So this is what we mentioned, right? So the Upanishads is unique because the Upanishads teaching is not a conceptual, an objective knowing. So here the sages are saying that I don't know it. It is because a realized sage neither claims that he knows it, nor does he claim that I don't know it. So this is from the Upanishads perspective, there are stories also, like in Brihadaranyaka and all that. Like, there's a story of Janaka, the king Janaka. He tells that whole lot of sages are there and learned people. So he tells them, the one who knows that truth, or the one who is the most well known of all of you, you can have all these cows, 1,000 cows. So at that point, that Yajnavalkya, the one of the rishis, he just comes up and he says, "Oh, I will take all these cows." Everybody revolts. They say, "Why are you claiming that? Do you mean to say that you know that reality, or you are that highest knower of us all?" So he says, "It's not that. I just need those cows. I will take it." Meaning he's trying to say that it's not that I know, I'm claiming I know it. Because if you claim you know it, then it is from that mind we are saying, I know it, And if you claim we don't know it, that is also not true. Because every one of us know it, but we have not recognized that knowing. That is all. So it is basically trying to recognize that knowing. And once you recognize, it's as simple as seeing anything that can remind us or help us recognize. So that is why, in what way is the knowing that comes through scriptures and lineage of teachers different from the knowing that arises through personal inference and mental processes? So the anumana pramana, which we are talking about, it's not a deductive thing. We are using anumana to eliminate all those things. If at all we use intellect here, we are using it to eliminate all that it is not. Okay. Okay, now let us look at the next set of mantras. So here, this mantra here, which we looked at last class, we looked at this in the last class, Anya Deva Tadvidita Tato Avidita Tavi. Now let us look at the shloka number 5, 5 and 6. So those of you who you can repeat after me. Yadvachanabhyutitam
Yadvachanabhyutitam
Yena vagabhyutyate
Yena vagabhyutyate
Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi.
Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi
Nedam yedidam upasate
Yedam yadidam
Yadidamupaste
Vasate
yen manasa na manute
Yanmanasa namanute
yena hurmano matam
Yena
Purmanomatam
tadeva brahmatvam vidhi
Tadeva Brahmatvam Vedhi
Vedhi
idam yedidam upasate.
Nedam
Idam
Yadidam Upasate
Idamupasate.
Okay, so now the next remaining shlokas, all are going to be doing that neti process, meaning it is going to say you cannot know it through speech, you cannot know it through hearings, eyes, mind, none of these process. So it was already mentioned in the third shloka, na vakachati, na manaha, but similarly now he's going to expand on that, where he's saying, see, Yet abhyuditam, meaning that the speech, that speech, that which it is being uttered, that speech cannot reveal that, but that by which the speech is known or the speech happens, the that action of speaking happens. That is that consciousness. So as I was saying, just as when see something, that the basis on which seeing is happening, the basis on which speech is happening. Now he has taken speech as a thing. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi na idam yad idam upasate. Now he brings out a fundamental point here. So now we are talking about all this, right? Is this also something like a this Brahma? He uses the word Brahma, Tad eva Brahma. So what is this Brahma or Brahman? We say sometimes, So this Brahman is it just like how Shankaracharya asked? Is it something like Ishvara or Rama, Krishna, or even Prana? Is it that? So here he says that which you are worshipping so far, that which you have used as a Saguna or Sakara, that is not it. So it could be even like, if you say, okay, I don't take Ganesha, Krishna as thing, but I take nature, the world or nature as God. Some people say this, right? Nature is God. Even in many Buddhism, they say, that the Dhamma is that reality. So, but he says that also, if you take any objective thing and you worship that, or you say that that is that ultimate thing, of course, for many people they don't even have that sense of God, right? So there are people who don't even worship that, either because they're atheist or they're just caught up in worshiping the world and the objects of the world, the wealth and beauty and other things. So they are not even counted in that context. But here we're talking of those who are fixing some higher reality as a god, an image. Is that it? So he says that is also not it. So first, let us look at a couple of points here from the Bhashya where he mentions. See, for example, he gives an example here. This is one of the sub-commentators called Anand Giri. He gives another comment. He says, you take the word "gau." Gau is meant for cow in Sanskrit. So there are two letters, Ga and O. So Ga and O make up that Gau. So here, when you say this sentence, what is happening? There is a certain modification of the letters, like the letters from A, B, C, D. If you take, so all these letters, the modification of those letters pronounced in a certain way, and with a certain with that organ of speech. So when we are talking about speech, we are not referring only to that instrument of speech or the organ of speech. So here it includes all those things, like the letters we use, the order in which the words make a meaning. Like if I just say, BTS, or some word. It is not a word, right? It doesn't. So the letters also are organized in a way. Like if I say BAT, bat, then that becomes a word and I pronounce it. So all these things, the ordering of the word, the organ of the spirit, all this is what we are. He's saying is that power of speech. Now, this power of speech, that which is the enabling entity, or that which helps manifest this speech, that intelligence, with all this combination of things that is happening. See, what is speech? He gives one more example. Speech can happen also in your dream, like in say, like not like, of course, some people speak in dreams loudly, but when I'm saying you're dreaming, you're talking with somebody, right? So there, is it an organ? You're not using an organ there. You're not using your throat, tongue, and all that. So that speech, manifestation of that speech, in your dream or your thing, and here it is. If you are a mute person, also that manifestation of speech can happen, because it is a nitya vastu, as they say. What makes it nitya, meaning what makes it eternal, is this power of consciousness. So that power of consciousness, whether you are sick or whether you are mute or whatever, you still it will it can manifest as the speech. So that is why, in one of the Brihadaranyaka also it mentions that speaker's power of speech can never be lost, because it is based on this Atma Tattva. It manifests like that. And there, so that is what Shankaracharya says, Yena Brahmana Vivikshiterte, Sakarana Vag Abhyudyate, Chaitanya Jyotisham Prakashyate, Prayuchyate iti etat. So that which brings light to speech, meaning like the eyes, if I have to see something with the eyes, eye power might be there, right? But there is no let's say there's no light. You cannot see anything. So that light that comes and enables you to see the object in a dark room, and that just is not enough. The light has to be there in your eye. That's when that thing. So that is what he's saying. That light of everything. That light of that speech. Chaitanya Jyotisham Prakashyate. That light of Chaitanya or Atma Tattva will make that speech unfold. So that is what he's saying. When that words that but what is it doing? It cannot illumine Brahman. That speech is illumined by Brahma, but it cannot illumine Brahman. So that is the catch. That speech existence is based on Brahman, but that speech cannot itself go back and illumine that Brahman. Why? Because we talked about this. That when you talk about speech, you are using anything in speech can express 5 things. Anybody remembers? So these are the 5 things that speech can do, which is a kriya, guna, jati, rudi, sambandha. Action, it can talk about attributes, it can talk about, or it can talk about classes or species, or some kind of a special thing, something very conventional. Like so and so is a prime minister. That is a way you can express. Or sambandha, I am so and so son. See, speech can do all this. But what about something which doesn't have guna, which doesn't have kriya, which doesn't have any relationship? So how can the speech go and do that? So here, that speech which we are talking about can only illumine something which is objective in nature, but it itself. So that is why, the expressions used is what? Chakshusha chakshu, shrotrasya shrotam, manaso manaha. Or sometimes we say Vijnata, Niyanta, Prashasita, Vijnanamananda, all that is mentioned. Where it is not approachable through language, speech, mind, and all that. Okay, so now the second part of this mantra is pointing one more thing. What is it? So here Shankaracharya says that tat tasmad anya upasya Vishnu Ishvara Indra cha pranaha va Brahma bhavitum arhati na tu atma. So when we talk about Atma, it is not something like this Vishnu, Ishvara, Indra, Prana, all these things. Because this is what people think about, right? So now Atma, that thing which we are talking about, it is the essence of even Ishvara, Rama, Prana, everything. And it is also the essence of us. That is why we are able to say Aham Brahmasmi or I am Atma Brahma. That Mahavakya. That Atma Chaitanya, that consciousness, which is us. And that consciousness is the same thing as that consciousness of Bhagavan or anything. So what he's saying is if you worship Bhagavan or if you worship Ishvara, it is not necessary you will find this ultimate reality. Because this ultimate reality is our own being. So if you go out looking for somewhere, something, you will not find it. Yet there is a value. So this is where, Upanishads and Vedanta do not discard about any worship as such. It is not to be taken like that. He's just saying it is not the highest reality, but to get to that reality, but to reach that reality, all sadhanas, all pujas, all worships are useful, provided you have the full vision. So any sadhana we do, any Ishtadevata we seek after, it is a worthy sadhana as long as my ultimate vision is there. So it is like saying, if I have to go from here, let's say you are coming from like some place, Mumbai or outer country to the mountains, Rishikesh. So you try and research there everything and you say, okay, I will figure out how to get to Delhi because Delhi is the biggest city. So you are coming to Delhi and all your focus is on Delhi. But in your vision where you are planning to go, you want to go to Rishikesh or you want to go to the Himalayas. So the immediate purpose of going through Delhi to reach Himalayas is accepted by Vedanta, is accepted by Upanishads. That is why all the Vedas have lot of upasanas and karmas before coming to Upanishads. So there are two ways to look at this. So when we talk about Brahman here, Brahman means something which is big, which is not quantifiable, which even cannot be reduced to like this Lord and this thing. So what Upanishads are doing here is that they are trying to help us first have an idea of the Vedas, they're trying to have an idea of Shiva or Rama or whatever. But then when the Upanishads come, it starts telling us there is a Shiva Tattva, there is a Rama Tattva, there is a Guru Tattva. So all these outer objects who have helped us to reach there, now we have to be willing to let go of that, but not until we are ready. So many times, we should be careful not to be so quick. Okay, this is the reality. So then why do everything else? No, all this is the reason that you're here. It gave that Chitta Shuddhi, and until that Chitta Shuddhi is there, we cannot let go of all upasanas. So the upasanas are as much necessary as much as the studies we are doing. So from this context, unless we are completely attained that reality, then we don't need to do it. So when somebody who has the idea of Nirguna Tattva, that person does Saguna Puja, then even that Saguna Upasana becomes Nirguna Upasana. Because that is the goal that we are heading towards. So from this perspective, what we talked about known and unknown, what do they become? That known is a theistic way of religion through which we are approaching. And unknown is that atheistic way. The atheist says, I also am searching, but I don't believe in God. I don't take in it. So he believes in an unknown entity, or he's convinced that there is an unknown reality, and that unknown reality is what is presenting here. So for somebody in who is studying the Upanishad is not theism and nor is it atheism, but it is a goal sought by both atheist and atheist. It is a destination that a theist also is approaching and atheist is also approaching. So both are welcome to study the Upanishads, but yet the sadhana, the path is easier in some context to somebody who already has some concept of God. Because that same Nirguna Bhagavan is that one who is manifesting as a Saguna. So here, when we are saying, this Brahman, what is Brahman? So Brahman is where, that once we have reached the limit of our religion or our thing, then this Brahman is that reality that we were always seeking. It is the final frontier, and yet it is that one reality that was always there. So that is why he is saying here, Na idam, it is not that what you worship from a worldly perspective, from a limited perspective. That Brahman itself, as the word says, it is infinite, it is big, it is so that is why that other word that was given, that in the Bhashya another word is given. So he calls that Brahman as the um, Vijnanamananda Brahma. So what is this Vijnanamananda Brahma? Vijnana means knowledge, or that wisdom, that knowledge. Ananda is bliss. Bliss means the highest bliss. So that Vijnanam Anandam thing is that it is Nirvishesha, meaning it is not limited in any kind of a form. So when that Brahman, which is not worshipped as Ishvara and all that, then what are we trying to seek? We are trying to seek this Brahman, which is devoid of attributes. It is the highest of all. It is the unchangeable reality. And yet, so that is what is to be sought, but it is not sought in an objective way. So both are presented here. It is not idam, it is not this. Anything that is idam, it is this, that we say. When we are able to say this or that, then that is not it. But yet it is something to be sought, has that reality, the ultimate reality, without attributes, without any objective things that exists, without. So that kind of a way, when we say that after negating, then that becomes that different that from this objective that. So so then it's just a pointer. It becomes like a pointer that is used. So this word vijnana, so maybe I can ask you all this. So we are talking here a lot of concept based on vijnana, meaning or jnana, jnata. When we say about Atma, we are saying it is jnata, it is this Chaitanya, this knowing principle. So if it is that knowing principle, I have a question for all of you. So speech, when we talk about speech, is based on some movement. It is based on prana. So how can the knowing principle be used as the prana? Knowing principle is knowing, it is not doing anything. So how can this knowing principle be the support of a doing action, motor action? See, if I say shrotrasya shrotra, it is the ear of the ear, then it is okay. You're listening, and it is the knower of the, it is a knowing principle in that hearing. And it is a knowing principle in the seeing. That is all okay. But now we are saying it is that knowing principle, or it is that jnata, but it is in speech. So what is the connection? How can this knowing principle be that the basis of movement, of action? Anyone wants to say anything?
Guruji, is it something that's in the knowing that when we put effort, we can speak? It's the knowledge of that. And it's the Prakriti because that's how it functions. Is it?
That's good. That's a good, very close. Yeah, that's very close. I see if anybody else can try to add to that or.
Knowing principle is a awareness, Swamiji. It's not a pure consciousness, right? It's distinct. Knowing principle is a awareness, sakshi, witness. It's not a pure consciousness. I don't
Why
know
is
if
it
I'm
not
right.
pure consciousness? Sakshi, when we say it's pure consciousness. When you say Sakshi, it is pure consciousness. See, knowing what you are, maybe what you are confusing is that knowing of the mind, that knowing is different. So that knowing is objective knowing. So when I talk about knowing, see in this I told you, right? There is a knowing that I see something. So based on that knowing, then the mind will say this is yellow, this is black. So that quantifying knowing is different. That basic awareness that of me and this, that knowing I'm talking about, and that knowing which we said is that jnata, that is the basis of everything. So how is that the basis of action? That is what I'm actually saying. When we normally deduce, the prana should be the basis of all actions, right? Prana, what we call movement, movement of energy, is the basis, like she was saying, prakriti also, right? So that is all the movement, all the movements are based on that. So what is the role or what is the connection now of the knowing principle for the speech, talking, walking, everything? Who else is there?
Swamiji, Swamiji, it is the pure knowing precedes all action. And in fact, if we take the speech as example, speech also has subtler levels before it is manifest as action, like the para, pashyanti, madhyama, and vaikhari. So the initial phase, subtler phase of speech also manifests uh, as knowledge in the subtle sense. So it is the most subtle principle of awareness in which that knowing principle of the speech itself appears and eventually manifests as the gross speech.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, okay. That is good, huh? So now I'll just maybe just present something. We have 5 minutes. Just briefly show you something. Okay, so see here, if you all can see this. See, when we talk about Brahman, there is two aspects of Brahman. First one here is a Saguna, that Saguna Ishvara with attributes. So he said that this is not it. This was Na idam upasate. This is not the one where the Brahman manifests Saguna. Now we are talking about Nirguna Brahma. So when we talk about Nirguna Brahma, that unconditioned, there are three aspects to that. One is that Sat. Sat is what we call sometimes a Satyam, truth, reality, ultimate. So this is one aspect. The other is called the Chit. That Chit is what we are mostly talking about here. So what is Chit? The Chit is also what is correlated as Jnanam. It is a knowing principle. And what it does is, it is that consciousness which allows that activity of prana to happen on which the speech will happen. So basically, in that hearing, we seemingly direct, but there also prana is involved. Here also prana is involved. And the basis of that prana is what? Is this consciousness. So where there is consciousness, there only there can be speech, seeing, hearing, and all that. A dead person, at least that of course, consciousness is there in everywhere. But that expression of that consciousness connected to that prana is not manifesting there. So that is why a dead person cannot speak. So the most fundamental basis of even speech and all actions, that is this chit, that consciousness. And then we also talk about ananda, although here we are not discussing much about it. That ananda is that infinitude, what we also call as bliss, the ultimate bliss, the joy. And in fact, all our experiences of the world, everything we are seeking, everything we are doing, it's based on this ananda, the seeking of ananda. So this ananda principle of consciousness or beingness is what is manifesting as the world, and also that which we are seeking. So this, just to give you that perspective here, when we talk about chit, that chit is that consciousness, and that consciousness, even science, if you look at science, that's what they say, right? Somebody is dead. They say, why? Because, this person is no longer conscious. He's not, like even if somebody is in coma, they say that person's not conscious. So there, that correlation between consciousness and prana is not happening. But the most fundamental, even there, is this jnata, that knower, that knowing principle. So see, this is what it is. The mere knowing of that consciousness enables everything to happen. The consciousness doesn't need to go out and do anything. It is like the sun, that just the light of that sun, that itself is enough for all activities to happen, right? Similarly, the light of consciousness, that itself is enough. The light itself doesn't need to go do everything. Based on that light, all these other aggregates, they come and they function, Okay, so anybody has any question, comments on this, you can ask.
So the chit is actually awareness.
In awareness, there are two kinds. One is a conditioned awareness and one is an unconditioned awareness. That conditioned awareness is the mind-based awareness. Like I am seeing, I'm aware that I'm talking to you. I'm aware that, your name is there, so and so. See, all this is conditioned awareness. Then there is an unconditioned awareness. And that unconditioned awareness will be aware. Whether I know your name or not, I'm aware of you. Whether I know anything, I know whether to call this a pen or pencil, it doesn't matter. That basic unconditioned awareness. The conditioned awareness is operating based on memory, experiences.
Swamiji, would it be right to say any action is actually preceded by thought?
Thought, yes.
By thought, but thought is thought itself is given strength by consciousness.
Correct. It will come in the next mantra, that same point. So the basis for thought or the mind, mind is nothing but thoughts, right? So the basis of mind is consciousness.
It's of course, I mean, then it's the thought that triggers or uses the sensory organs.
Correct. Yeah. So that is the somewhat, although we cannot create like a hierarchy kind of thing there, but a loose hierarchy we can have, that there is a consciousness, and on the basis of that consciousness, then the mind is there. Then on the mind, the senses is there. So that hierarchy of that consciousness is not so direct as in a like a CEO instructing the his executives or top managers. The mere presence of that consciousness enables all this other hierarchy to function. Okay. Okay. So the ideal understanding here is that when we talk whether of speech or see he initially he talked about ear. Now he has switched to the speech because we have to be clear. It is not just knowing as in the jnanendriya. I'm not talking only about the perception quality. It is also the motor active quality that also. Which we mistake it for prana. That is not the case. That prana also is based on consciousness. So that knowing precedes everything. Okay, I think if nobody has any other questions, we will end it here. And of course, you all can read again or contemplate on the other things. Mananam questions will come. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste.